Gaurav Sharma joins me now. He's a contributor to Forbes.com, particularly on the energy spectrum. When we look at what's gone on today, and we have now a decision to just roll over the same amount of oil in the market, supply and demand have been pretty stable. What's your take on this decision?
Well, first of all, I'm not surprised about the decision at all. It was to be expected. The market's in a pretty healthy place as far as the supply and demand dynamic goes, and of course the OPEC oil basket is $100 plus, along with both the important benchmarks. So the decision does not come as a surprise. Secondly, I do think that there are there's this incremental barrel hypothesis. A lot of people sort of jump on the shale bandwagon and they say, well, this shale gas bonanza is going to put OPEC under pressure. I'm not convinced. Yes, shale is a positive development, but I don't think OPEC should feel threatened, because I do think that there are quite a few takers for their barrels out there.
Now, when we look recently, the International Energy Agency came up with their new report saying that they expect more demand in the market, which is actually good. It's good news for everybody that there be more demand in the market. OPEC producing at 30 million barrels a day, they're saying perhaps by the end of the year they'll probably need more. What do you think?
I think the level is adequate. You know, over the years, a lot of people, the IEA including, have criticized OPEC, saying, well, do you really have any margin for spare capacity? Now, with the onset of, let's say, how shall I say, non-OPEC production coming onto the scenario, this gives OPEC breathing room. Now, how can you beat somebody for saying, well, first you complained that they did not have spare capacity or they'll be in trouble, and now they do have breathing room, and now again people have no pop at them saying, well, should you really be at the levels that you are at? And here again is a tiny bit of hypocrisy there. But I do think the current production quota level is sufficient, and the no change scenario comes as no surprise.
Now, depending on what analysts you talk to, we look at the state of global oil demand and also just the growth in the economy too. I mean, we're seeing sluggish growth in some areas, but we're still seeing growth. How do you view the economy at the moment and the potential for the next 2 quarters?
Well, supply side analysts, myself included, most of them would point to India first off. The Indian economy has had a fair bit of trouble. They've had an election, now they've got a new government with a convincing mandate. So we do think that the Indian economy is going to recover. India has been a firm partner with several OPEC jurisdictions. So I do think that the Indian economy is one to look at. There is the jury still out on what might or might not happen in China. But if you're looking at what the Secretary General said earlier today, OPEC is looking actively at non-OECD jurisdictions. So you've got India and China as the 2 big ones, and of course if we come back into the OECD, we're looking at Japan. So there are 3 big importers who are out there, who of course, I keep coming back to this, won't have any access to what's being produced in the United States, because the US won't be exporting.
Again, you'd say they won't be exporting, but yet you're looking at some of the mood from Congress and a lot of people trying to push to actually change that law. You don't think it'll happen very quickly? And what will the impact be?
No, in fact, I'll nail my colors to the mast here, and I've been banging on about it for the last 6 months, is that I don't see any medium-term change, because if you look at some of the forceful comments coming out of, let's for instance say Senator Ed Markey, who's been quite vocal, quite on the record, that he sees that US domestic production should be utilized domestically. He in fact even created a bit of a fuss when gas export contracts were signed at Sabine Pass LNG. So this sort of gives you a flavor of the political and legislative impediments that you're likely to face in the US.
So when we look ahead to the next 2 quarters, the second half of the year, what do you think are the big issues that need to be on everybody's mind?
I think we'll get a flavor of it next week at the Petroleum Congress in Moscow. I think the economy is recovering. It's in a healthy place, but it's not in a fantastic place. So next 2 quarters we'll be looking at how the response is, what the Eurozone does, and especially what happens in India, because it's been at how shall I say, a bit of a stagnant period, recording growth levels which a lot of analysts are disappointed by. Now, are we over the next 2 quarters going to see an uptick in India? That's the big issue here for me.
Super. We'll keep an eye on it. Thanks so much.
Thank you for your time.